You're listening to UK Black Men Talk Show, live on the one and only SupremeFM.com.
And yeah, the martial arts was just on another level, was just really on another level with things like that. But in terms of listening to and watching all these videos to do with Charlie Parker and musicians and all that, was just just really, and my father, he was powerful as well. He was powerful. He used to make a lot of food, like big pots of food, like make cakes, make drinks. I'm not saying my mum wasn't like that, but when you got a father that is on point for a boy, it can make you really, it can really encourage you. Just watching him. And my dad was very, very, very serious in terms of, when he came into the door, when he came, in the house, like everybody was going to sit down, you know what I mean? Like, so. Yeah, so, and he was very much like, used to cut a lot of people's hair, a lot of people used to come down to play his music, his voice when it comes to singing and that, he was just on point, like growing things out in the garden, he would just grow all different kind of stuff, like, well, my dad was powerful. One thing I think that, really pushed me is, the example of our own people, what we get involved in, and in order to kind of influence the younger people. That was powerful. But a lot of things gone in, not saying it's totally like that, but people that are really trying to make a change, they've got a very big fight ahead, and I see it. I'm actually not even to see it, but I'm going through it myself. But I think that's how diamonds are made, in pressure. So I do get it. I get it.
Yeah, and you keep moving. And the thing about today, you organically brought up about your father, and every week we're here, fathers at the foundation of this show. So it's just powerful to hear you bring up your father, because I know that you look up to your father, and you even had an interview on one of the cover shows one time, I think it was a Sunday, and you talked about your father and when he transitioned, and you were also just sharing about the strength that you received from your father transitioning. Like, we don't have to stop everything when a loved one has passed physically. I remember you sharing a lot about that, and it was helpful. Yeah.
I just think when it comes to the whole burying things, the way we was in ancient times, that's one of the reasons why we are so great. Because we had hands-on when it comes to doing things, when it comes to doing, our culture was so deep that maybe people didn't really understand it. It's not for them to understand it anyway, it's for us to understand it and deal with it. But I think one of the reasons why we ain't that powerful no more is because we don't, our culture is just like we've got somebody else's culture, and then we're wondering why we're failing, which makes a lot of sense. When it comes to burying, I don't really, I think when you're talking about these things, it can sound a little bit morbid, but one of the powerful things that to me is when I was putting the clothes on my father's dead body.
Yes.
In the funeral parlor, and that was in Jamaica. They asked, "You sure you want to do this?" And I mean, why did they ask me? My siblings asked me to do it because they feel that I don't really take nothing serious. Maybe because I'm always joking, whatever. But that's one of the most powerful things that's ever happened to me. Because I don't know. There's people can turn around and say, I might say that there's spirits around me or whatever the case may be, but I don't really have to kind of really, I said I don't fight for anything, but I do know there is a presence. And I think it's very important that when it comes to people passing away, especially your own people passing away, you have to have a hands-on relationship, or maybe it's another word I can call it, but it's got to be like when you see some of these films that when the dead pass away and you actually put it on what they call it, blocks of wood, and then you put whatever on it, and then you light it and send it right out into to the river or whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? Those are very deep situations that we don't get involved no more because our culture is not there no more. You having a child and somebody else from another culture is taking the child from the womb, but yet you're on a flat surface. You know, we're not connected no more. We're not connected, sending our children to school for somebody else to teach and wondering why we don't kind of ain't moving forward as a people. These are the reasons why our culture is gone. It's gone. And the only time it's going to move for us is when we start going for it back. We can't really care about what other people think. It's what do we think.